morning, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses on Gotham Day. The Big A, Anthony Stabile, Andy Serling. Did get some rain overnight. Track is right now listed as sloppy. Imagine it's sealed. We've got a ton to talk about, so we're going to get right to work. You need to get to work. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, head on over to Naira Bets. Use the promo code BONUS200. We'll match you to $200 of your initial deposit. Play through Naira Bets. Keep the money in the game. We have lots of stuff. Middle pick 4, that'll be race 4, I believe, of our 10-race card today. 3 pick 4s, races 2, 4, and 7. Pick 5s in races 1 and 6. Pick 6 in race number 5. Derby bankroll, 50 to win in the Gotham Stakes. Win, lose, or draw, you'll get $20 towards your Derby bankroll when we get up to Derby, which is 9 weeks from today. We also have the cross-country pick 5. The all stakes from here, at least. And I guess it's Dusty Road, the 2 Archie Bred stakes there. So we got races 4 here, 4, 8, and 9, and 7 and 9 at Oaklawn. Keep in mind, no America's Day at the races today, but you can watch our races. Of course, you can always watch on Naira Bets, but of course, we'll be also showing them on YouTube, and there will be prattles with Greg Wolf, myself, and Maggie between most of the races. $15 bonus, you bet $50 each on Aqueduct, Oaklawn, and Santa Anita. Got opt-in for that. $15 bonus. We have tickets are on sale for Belmont Stakes. Head over to BelmontStakes.com for more information. And once again, no show on Fox at all today. Race number 1. These are maidens, and you have gone to a first-time starter.
Yeah, don't know anything about this this daughter of Commissioner. Pitch clock, decent enough work tab in the mornings. Dan was 1 for 5. No real siblings to speak of. We'll see if Chad can get another first home. First, I got home yesterday, disqualified. I did not agree with the call again, but yeah.
Wow. I wish they would take every horse down that did that. That horse clearly impeded that horse's progress. I hope it's a consistent thing. If they do it consistently going forward,
consistently would be great. I agree.
They'll put a stop
but
to it,
not.
And it's dangerous riding, but hopefully it's the start of consistently taking people down for impeding horses' forward progress, which is clearly what happened in that race. Now, you have second this horse, Gifted.
Yep.
I would like to book Gifted for all I could.
Okay.
This horse's race last time I thought was about as phony as a race can come. This horse was sitting, she was sitting an absolutely perfect trip. There's 3 horses banging each other's heads in up front. She angled out. I mean, I bet the winner of this race, and I thought, well, I don't like Gifted, but she's going to win today. I mean, this was one embarrassing hang. But you have her over Liam's Champ.
I like the cut back in distance based on what you were talking about. I like this filly drop. I like this filly cutting back. I think when you look at her pedigree, you just assume that she's going to want more ground. And the way she's run, especially in her last, I'm not going to hold the turf race against her. So the way she's run in her last 2 races, I don't think distance is going to be her friend. Okay. I think the cutback's going to help her a little bit.
I stuck to handicapping, and I like Liam's Champ in this race. For those of you that watched the replay of Liam's Champ, I didn't put it up. I should have. Not only was this horse a bit unlucky, not the best of rides, to be kind. Broke slowly, and when you're in that position, as a rider, I think you have to give yourself some options. He gave himself no options, and a horse that lost by 10 lengths could easily have lost by 3 or 4 lengths to a horse who's going to be one of the horses to beat the Busher in race number 4. Liam's Champ probably should have earned a buyer figure of 65 to 70 if she didn't have a trouble trip in there. I think she's the superior horse here. And unless the first-time starter, or one of the first-time starters, the ones a firster as well, runs, I will be shocked if the number 3 loses to the number 6 Gifted. Race number 2.
We could 1 lunch that.
As many lunches on you as you want, Anthony.
Okay.
Then we're at 125.
Oh, 2 lunch it.
But 10 if you want. I don't care. 3 can't lose to 6.
5 lunch it.
Oh, that's fine.
Let's 5 lunch it.
Okay, so we're at 130.
I'm feeling good today.
Yep. Well, you won't be feeling great after the first race.
Okay.
Race number 2, you have another horse in race number 2 for the Carvich stable in Treaty Obligation. And I wanted to show the start for both the number 7, Gotta Connect. And I want to show the beginning because Gotta Connect does not like the kickback. Now, also did absolutely no running whatsoever and took no money. But I think it's important to note as well, though, that Treaty Obligation got left in this race. And a horse that was highly touted, took a lot of money first time, and Mr. Swagger, of course, coming back in the stake, and Register came back with a huge 93 buyer, I think, in his next start. This horse was green. He sort of slipped back at the start. He was lugging in the stretches, you'll see. You saw the Gotta Connect, who did no running, but he didn't like the kickback. I got to tell you, I'm going to be very surprised if Treaty Obligation loses. In fact, the only way I thought he could reasonably lose, and I understand there's an enormous tip on Victory Way, the horse you picked. I've heard it as well. But when Love Takes Over, if he was aggressively ridden. Now, I was talking to Trevor McCarthy yesterday, who said to me that they were telling him they didn't want to go to the lead with him. Now, if you have whatever Love Takes Over, and you're not going to lead in this race, unless one of the firsters has big speed, you're crazy, because that's his potential advantage. Now, listen, I don't know about the firsters, but I thought he was dangerous. I'll be very surprised if Treaty Obligation, though, isn't very much the one to beat. But you obviously have that big story on the one Victory Way.
I do, and that was it. So it was enough. It was enough for me to lean Mr. Mott's way and Jose Lezcano's way. So we'll see how this horse handles a wet track, which is obviously the monkey wrench with a lot of things this afternoon. And we'll see if this horse handles a wet track.
Or we'll see if he's any good. You're assuming that if he handles a wet track, he'll win. He also has to be good enough to win. That's also a potential problem, right? They do have to be better.
It's always a potential problem, but
it's not just handling the track. It's not always an excuse.
I'll take my chances.
Okay. Race number 3. So race number 3, I think this is a great opportunity to bet against Milton the Monster, who you have on top in here. And we'll show the win, because people are going to jump on this horse because of his freakishly good performance on a wet track. And listen, maybe he did. Now, he has run well in wet tracks. I agree. I'm going to let him beat me. I don't think this horse is going to become superhuman in a wet track. I want him to run back to this race. If he does, he'll beat me. I'm ready to lose to him.
Okay. Yeah, I thought, see, for me, it was a little bit of a combination of how well he runs on wet tracks and how poorly his opposition runs on wet tracks. These horses just don't really.
Who?
None of them run particularly well on wet tracks.
Really?
I mean,
Uncle Moonlight runs well on a wet track. He ran terrific 2 back, coming off a long, long layoff. He broke his maiden with his best figure up to date at that point in a wet track. He ran another big figure, so no, that's not true. Uncle Moonlight's run very well in wet tracks, and I think Uncle Moonlight has just been a little bit against it. Now, he's got to deal with Market Alert in this race. I think he's faster, and I think this one from the inside that Jose should just let him air it out and go. And we'll see if that happens. But I am scared of Market Alert in this race. But I didn't like his last race. He did get caught behind horses, but he had no run when he spun out. But he has been running against better horses in here. I want the 2 and 5 as the main 2 horses in here. You've gone in a different direction here.
Yeah, I think Milton the Monster is way the horse to beat in here.
Yeah, I disagree completely. I won't be shocked if he wins, but I don't think he's particularly good. I think he'll be massively overbet because of the wet track factor, and I'm just not big on that. First stake of today is the Busher, race number 4. I thought this was a sensational matchup of 3 potentially really talented players in division, and at least 1, if not 2, good horses are going to lose this race.
Yes.
Because there's some good ones in here. And we'll start with the horse you have on top, Ziarati, and I can't knock her first race. I thought she was terrific. Speed probably was a little bit advantageous this day, but I don't think it was an excessive bias. Second place finisher, improved 6 buyer points next time out. Third finisher, regressed 3 points, but still, this race has been legitimized, at least from that standpoint. Talk about her.
I mean, I'm under the impression that she is the absolute controlling speed in here.
She's not, but that's okay. I mean, she's not based on pace figures, but that's okay.
Yeah, I find that absolutely positively comical that people think Capella is going to be in front of her today. I think it's an absolute positive joke. Okay. That Capella gets in front of Ziarati today.
Okay, well, Ashley Persich could also be in front of her if they wanted to be aggressive.
Could be, but that's in all likelihood from the outside stalking position with not 1 but potentially 2 speeds inside. See, that's why figures to me, they're a tool, but in no way.
Anthony, you don't even use them, so to just go on this big spiel about it, you never even look at them.
In no way does common sense dictate that a poly-track horse and a horse outside of 2 potential speeds is going to be in front of a filly coming out of a sprint who's just faster.
Okay, Anthony, it's not common sense. It's a decision that you've made, which is fine.
It's not a decision that I've made. It's common sense.
No, it's not, Anthony.
Okay.
It's not common sense.
Okay.
Common sense is to not make comments like that.
Okay.
You believe she'll be in front. Now, she might be. I'm not disputing the possibility. They've all run twice or once. I'm not disputing it. And it's going to be in tension. Maybe Trevor's going to be really aggressive and Perrant won't be, or Manny won't be. All these things are possible. But it's not common sense. Common sense is to at least look at pace figures. The reality is, Ziarati said it was a very slow pace last time. Could she go a little faster? Of course, they could all go a little faster. I don't know. But based on the race that she ran and based on the kind of paces that these horses were involved in relative terms, She's the third fastest horse early. It doesn't mean she won't be in front, but to be definitive and say it's common sense, that's not fair, because there's a lot of people that disagree with you that know what they're talking about.
And I'll tell you another thing, where I think her bigger edge might be. And it's hard to say because of how Asset Purchase finished up her race. Asset Purchase was geared down considerably at the end. She finished up faster than her two rivals. Now, she's got to go an extra eighth of a mile.
Track may have been. You're using raw times again?
No.
We got to get away from raw times.
I'm not using raw times. Yes, she finished up faster.
You're using raw times. But anyway, forgetting about that. Now, what's interesting about that argument actually is that if you use a pace-based number, Zioretti ran 7 Beyer points faster than Asset's Purchase did in her first start. Both horses won easily. I don't think either one of those horses could have gone more faster than the other one. I think they both won very easily, and they're both talented. Using pace-based numbers, using Timeform US numbers, they have 7 points higher for Asset Purchase. Now, they're just two different ways of looking at it. Beyer has the 3 considerably better. The pace-based figures of Timeform US have Asset Purchase, who we'll look at here. I think Asset Purchase is in a perfect position to control this race. I believe she could be in front if she wants to be, but I also think otherwise she can just stalk towards the outside. Listen, I am not against Zioretti. I'm not against Capella. I think all 3 of these are major, major players in here. I think this horse with the outside position, I think based on the pace-based number, I think it's much closer between the two of them. I prefer her. Do I have a strong opinion? No. I don't know how you can possibly have a strong opinion in this race among these 3. They all look like horses that can win. What is the negative on any of these 3?
No negative. I think Capella's playing a little catch-up.
No, she's not. She ran fast races, though.
I feel like she's playing a little catch-up.
Okay, but she ran fast races. The other thing about Capella is she'll go pedigree.
Listen.
Did you look? You say yes or no. I'm just asking. It matters.
Well, you and I talked about this yesterday. I mean, her pedigree.
She's all
it's
dirt.
Bonnie South. I got the whole
It's
thing.
all dirt.
Yeah, I know.
So the reality is, and Bradcox has a lot of horses, so I don't think there's a negative he's running on synthetic. Ran Monomoy Girl on turf twice before she ran in the dirt. And we'll take a look at her races. See, I disagree with you. I think those races were fine. She ran the races come up as strong. She's a half to Bonnie South, 2 other dirt horses that ran figures in the 90s. I have no problem thinking this horse can handle this race, and it's Brad Cox, and I'm not. That guy's dangerous with everything he runs. So I just think she's a major player in here. And I'll tell you something. I'll be surprised if Florent isn't aggressive, because I'll say something else coming off synthetic. He might not want to get a lot of stuff kicked in his face, and she's got speed. So I'll be surprised if Florent is not aggressive with this horse, especially from an inside position.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. She has been at Turfway. So this, I don't know where she started training, but the whole dirt thing might be a little foreign to her. That'll be curious to see how she handles it.
Okay. All right, we disagree about the Busher. Looking forward to that. Thought it's going to be a terrific race. Race number 5. You and I have the same opinion. We'll look at that Grump's Little Tot race that Optic Way ran. Grump's Little Tot buried him. This was the last race for Optic Way. 2-back Grump's Little Tot. What do you like about Optic Way?
First time, Rudy. I mean, there does not appear to be a lot of pace in here. It looks like him and Mount Travers will be the forward ones, I would imagine.
What happened to Mount Travers' speed last time?
He hit the gate coming out of there, apparently. And yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, Optic Way's in front here, right? I mean,
That's why I liked him as the speed. But the other thing is, I thought he ran very well in this race.
Yeah.
Because he did all the dirty work. This race completely and totally collapsed
Coming
at the
off
end.
the layoff, right? It collapsed.
I thought he ran well.
Grump's Little Tots just came with that. It was
Wasn't
a weird
layoff,
race,
but
right?
It's the same layoff basically he's coming in today. But
Yeah.
I just thought he did all the dirty work in the race and thought he was the right horse coming out of it. But I'll tell you something. I think Advanced Strategy is extremely dangerous in here. I know it's a drop, but he's just a logical horse in this race.
No
and yes,
question
it's an
about it.
admitted bad claim. I don't love that Mike Dubb, who's sharp, claims this horse and drops him. But maybe he just realized, listen, I paid too much for this horse. I don't think he's terrible, but I'm not going to win with this horse if I run him for 45. You know what I mean? I got to run him somebody has a chance.
and if he
maybe he gets claimed, and I'll get some of my money back.
If he wins and loses them, he's almost even on.
Or if he runs second, he loses them. He's not going to lose a lot. He's looking to wash his hands of a mediocre claim that he doesn't need to be running for 16 and 25. I think one he thought, a lot of us thought, I picked the horse last time, the horse would be a smarter claim than it was. And if you're a smart owner, you have to be ready to suck it up when you make what turns out to be a mediocre claim.
You got to do. Yep.
But you don't want to disregard completely his dropping. I agree with you on your second choice in here, Kairos. I think this horse is very dangerous. And the one thing I like, I want Randy Persaud when he's not particularly logical on paper. I don't want him when he's making a lot of sense.
And in these kind of races where you got, you know what I mean, like Optic Way, yeah, he's coming in off that race last time. Advanced strategies on the drop. Do you really want Grump's Little Tots?
I'm with you. We got a lot to talk about in the second half. That's the first five. We will be back with the late pick five, including the Gotham and the Tom Fool.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Welcome back to Talking Horse, presented by our good friends at Saratoga Spring Water. Love that Saratoga.
I actually threw the
Spring
bottles out yesterday because they would have been here until August.
Sacrilege.
Buddy, what do you want me to do? The other ones were here for like 6 months.
Put them on the thing. They're returnable. They're
Well,
recyclable.
we got some bottles in the
They're
box.
recyclable. Race number 6. First-time starters and horses that ran. I'm going to usually defer to horses that ran, and I thought Pop Coyer ran well last time. Ran to a buzzsaw on Radio Red, who gets into the Gotham. Take a look at that race.
We got a 15 in the Gotham today.
The reality is, I know. Last time we had a mile field like this was that Cigar Mile, that I want to say Gold Fever one, or Flying Chevron, Chevron.
Wow, Flying Chevron.
Anyway, this horse was off the rail, and I know you're seeing the winner rally in the middle of the track, but the winner was on the rail until angling out, and I thought the rail was strong this day. I like Pop Coyer. It still breaks my heart he didn't get second in here. But nonetheless, I wanted him in here. I thought he was the one to beat. I thought Russi was interesting. The Bonds had a couple of winners yesterday, albeit logical horses, you know. But listen, they've been running logical horses that hadn't been running, you know, and they had been a little unlucky. Like everybody that's on the duck has been unlucky a few times, no matter who you are.
That's how it works.
Training, riding, betting, whatever it is. I thought that horse actually ran okay, showing some speed.
Russi.
I'm interested in them. I also, how are you not scared of Woodside Warrior? When have you seen Mitch Friedman with a first who works like this?
There's a push on Todd, who I fell for coming up from Florida, and there's a little story on Mitch.
Oh, there has to be a story. I mean, I don't need a story.
Now,
this horse is working.
Mitch don't run a lot of first-time starters.
Doesn't run a lot. You're an educated. You're an educated
Mitch doesn't
man.
run a lot of first-time starters.
I know you're from Brooklyn, but you're supposed to be setting an example.
I'm from Queens.
I'm sorry. You're supposed to be setting an example for the people at home. Here's the thing about Signal Corp, and I won't be surprised the horse wins. Todd Blanchard, first-time starter. This is an Army mule. Vinny Viola is going to buy Army mules. He is going to support a stallion that he raced, as a lot of people do.
Could have been any kind, by the way. That horse could have been any kind.
What he was a cripple.
That horse could have been any. Wow.
I'll tell you what's amazing. The Todd got him to run 3 times.
That horse's Carter on 3 legs could have.
I remember even the Carter. I remember Vinny telling somebody, "We'd love to run in the Met, but it's hard to be too confident."
You know me.
Yeah, he told somebody else. Somebody else I was talking to also, but it may have been you as well.
Yeah.
But this horse is a half to 1 horse. That horse is a micromanage. Army Mule has started out well. I mean, he hasn't had a do, but he's doing fine. And listen, he's a talented horse. But I think it just gives me a little cause, knowing that Vinny bought this horse and he's an Army Mule, because he's going to support those horses. Doesn't mean the horse can't run. I'm going to stick to ones with experience, and I'm going to use Woodside Warrior, who will get bet, but won't be as short as Todd. Okay. But obviously, the Pletcher horses can win. Race number 7. Race number 7, unfortunately, got crushed by scratches. And the one horse I liked today a lot was Life Changer coming out, which really disappoints me. And I hate scratching into a favorite, but I decided not to change my picks. I almost reversed my second and top picks here. We'll look at Rotney winning the Mike Lee. The reality is, if the Rotney of Rotneyville is back, he's going to win this race. I don't trust him. I don't trust anybody off layups, but he is the horse to beat.
I almost changed my top pick too, but I figured you had Rotney on top, and I wasn't going to change it. But yeah, I mean, if this horse shows up off the layoff, and he showed up off of a similar layoff in the past, I mean, he's going to win. He's just going to win the two.
Listen, I'm not in love with taking layoff horses, and I think there are other interesting horses in here. We disagree about who they are, but I think there are other interesting horses in here. This horse got very, very good. But on the other hand, He's a horse that got put on the bench at the end of June with a lot of racing left to go, and he comes back 8 months later for a trainer who, I didn't put it up, but 6 to 12 months dirt sprint, 6 for 38, $1.40 ROI. Now, to be fair, probably most of them didn't look like Rodney because he doesn't have a lot of dirt sprinters in his barn, and they may have been stretch out types,
and he went to the bench as he was getting really good.
And he's also 3 for 7 at Naira with a 430 ROI with that stat. So the horses he's brought back here have come back and
he's
run.
one of them. I would imagine he's one of them, right?
You make a great point.
Yeah. So.
But it's his second time on the shelf, and whatever. I doubt he's coming back improved like he did last time. But it's his second time on the shelf.
And listen, he's running into a horse, a Nika guy, who's pretty fast. And he's inside, and he's kind of under the gun.
Okay. That doesn't concern me, but I got you. Okay.
He's got to go 6.5, too.
Well,
so,
that also doesn't concern me, but okay. That is fine, but...
And he's got to deal with a wet track, and one of his only defeats comes on a wet track.
Scratch. The horse that I really don't like in here is the horse that you picked.
Well, I scratch into Jake Rocks. It was my top pick. I liked all about the money coming from off the pace, but I scratch into Jake Rocks. Yeah. I mean, I've missed the wedding, the anniversary party, and now I've scratched into a horse who never won, and now he's won 3 in a row, and I'm going to try and get him to the winner's circle for the 4th consecutive time.
How does a horse that's 2 for 36 suddenly win 3 straight races?
Amazing.
It is a tougher field, but it has scratched down. I don't like him, but I won't be shocked. See, I think, personally, that's a great scratch of the two, because first of all, I don't think he could have won. And I actually think Handsome Cat is very interesting in this race. Handsome Cat did not run that badly last time, and that rail got good as the day went on. And he was wide the whole way, and he looked like he was chasing, and then he looked like he gave it up. And I know the field was stretching out, but he actually kind of regathered himself in the stretch. I thought his last race was actually pretty good, and I've never been a big fan of this horse. But I think you look at this horse, he's not impossible to get a piece, especially if you're against Rodney, if you're trying to beat Rodney. And I wish there was a little more speed for Royal Twist. I know you're right about the 3 having speed. I still don't believe they're going to be flying up front. But I like Royal Twist actually with less distance. I like this horse cutting back. I think his close will be more potent with less distance. Look at how much he closed in that 7 furlong race, the day that you liked him. He made a big run that day, and I think less distance is going to make his kick better. I thought about switching it to 1A7, but I just thought, you know what, I'll just stay with that. But I'm going to use 1A1s and 2s, and the 1A, the 1 would be 50 to 1 on his own. So you're not getting hurt with the 1A in the entry.
Right.
And I think for Handsome Cat, I could never have bet him if the 2 was still in there, but with the 2 out, I can play him. So I thought he was interesting. We're both know Rodney's the worst to beat, but think he is a little dangerous. I know we ended up on the same horse in the favorite in the stake, and we'll take a look at Running Son of a Gun and the Tom Fool, but...
Talk about a good claim, huh? Claim this horse.
I'm thrilled for the Toscanos, too.
Yeah.
A good claim for people who don't have a lot of horses, and they've done so well with him, does such a good job with him. And you think about how much he's improved consistency. I just think he's the most logical horse in this race. Did I want to default to the favorite? No, but he's the horse to beat.
Only off the board finish last year in 10 tries was Gotham. Here he is on Gotham Day now as the favorite in the Tom
Really
Fool.
in bend, who just never stops running.
Amazing.
Probably benefit from a little bit of a break in here. I thought he was a very interesting player. Like something about the sign must have confused him.
Gets Chateau and Pirate Rick to mix it up front.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. Listen, I'm not against Eastern Bay, who he finished ahead of by a nose there, or came back General George. My problem is, I want
Angel Cruz on Eastern Bay, by the way.
Thank you. I want Lynn Cash when his horses don't look good. I can't guess right with the guy anyway, but I don't want him when they look logical. And the other thing is, you missed the boat with him last time.
He's Randy Prasad, too.
He is a little. He's got a little bit of Randy. You're joking, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong. He's got a little.
He's Randy off the van.
You've got him second, and I'm not. I've got him off the board, and I won't be shocked if he wins this race. I just don't really want him in here. Now, as far as the Pirate Rick Chateau thing, we'll show the race when the two of them ran together on December 30th. This horse actually outran Chateau.
I know.
I mean, that's something that nobody has
It's
been
hard
able
to do.
Hard.
It's hard to do.
It's remarkable. The knock on Pirate Rick is Lasix. He ran much better with Lasix.
Yep.
On the other hand, his 2 races without Lasix were graded stakes at 7 furlongs. So I'm not so sure. And I'll tell you something else.
And he came back in 6 days in one of them.
Are you really sure Chateau's going to be on a dead send here? Because I think there's a chance Pirate Rick clears. And if he clears,
God, Andy,
you don't want him for a little bit?
But from inside of him, doesn't Chateau have to be on that dead send?
See?
Don't you have to worry about just getting buried inside of him?
I'm not sure he'll get buried inside of him. I think he might let Pirate Rick outrun him and then try to set up shop outside of him.
Wow.
I think there's a chance that Pirate Rick clears, and I'm going to use him.
Okay.
I can't. I'll put it this way. If a speed wins this race, I think you'll agree with me that it's going to be him.
Oh, no question about it.
Right. So I want to have one of the speeds. And I considered putting him on top, but I didn't. And I also considered my old friend Drafted. And we'll show Drafted's race when he won the Gravesend and he beat Little Vic, who's also not
I
impossible.
don't know how right. That's the thing in here. There's no room to put all of them on the TV screen.
And this wasn't even a super fast pace. It was an honest pace, but it wasn't. You can compare it. It was the same day as the Pirate Rick race,
right,
where they went 44-4, and they went a fifth of a second faster. That's how good Pirate Rick's race was that day. It wasn't bias aided. This race gets hungry late. You can tell me this horse Drafted can't come up and win. I don't think he's quite as good.
He can win Little Vic.
Every running son of a gun, but he's a cool horse.
Little Vic can win. I mean,
well, we haven't talked about Nakatomi.
We haven't talked about Nakatomi. Yeah. What do you do with Nakatomi?
Well, let me ask you a question. I agree with David's line, but Nakatomi feels like a horse that I could have picked in here if he was 5 or 6 to 1. I can't take him at the same price as
No, but that doesn't mean he can't win.
No, I know, but I can't bet him or pick him at that price. That's all I'm saying.
But
of course
if you're
he
playing,
can win.
this is part of the cross-country. Well, there's a ticket up for the cross-country pick. There will be a ticket for the cross-country pick 5. It's part of our late pick 5, late pick 4. You're not going to let you can't let this horse beat you.
Well, the problem is, Anthony, that both the Tom Fool and the Gotham are filled with you can't let the horse beat you horses. Because good luck leaning on anybody in the Gotham.
No, you can't.
So this is a pick 5. These are pick 5 sequence, whether it's the cross country or here, where obviously you're always better off playing multi-race tickets, but you're particularly better off staggering it so that you've got some of the stragglers, in your 10% to 15% of your play, so that if you're really smart in the other divisions, but you're gonna have to be smart. Hitting this pick 5, drowning it with a caveman ticket, good luck. You're gonna be smart. And it's a tough sequence to be smart because I agree with you. Do we show Nakatomi? We'll show his race. The problem with Nakatomi is he's a second choice and he's never run a race that's good enough to win here. That's my problem with Nakatomi. And he ran his big race at Keeneland. Now, Endorse came back and ran well, and he won the Hooper. I get all that. But from a Beyer speed figure, from a Timeform US speed figure standpoint, he is simply not fast enough to win this race. Now, he's a newly turned 4-year-old. He has upside. Wesley Ward shipping him in here, usually a good sign. That's all good and fine, but it doesn't make me want to bet him at 3 to 1. That's my problem.
I don't disagree with that.
I mean, you didn't pick him first or second either.
I put him third.
Right,
Yeah.
I did too. It just feels like he's a no-value play. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. That's fair. And that's fair enough. I mean, yeah, you kind of want to spread in here, but you also, I do feel like
I have to make some decisions somewhere.
I'm going to lean on running son of a gun a little bit in here.
I mean,
you kind of have to in this sequence.
I suppose if Pletcher went up 4 to 5 in the first leg, maybe you take a shot and signal him if you want to be that guy.
In our pick 5.
But that's think of that horse that won at 1 to 5 here. That horse won because the field was terrible. Got a 62 buyer.
Yeah. Correct.
This is not a terrible field.
No, it's not.
Mitch's horses work fast. You've got 2 that ran that showed some ability. So this is a tricky sequence, and this is one where your opinions are going to have to be okay. Mm-hmm. It's just you're going to have to live and die.
Which takes us to the Gotham.
Yeah, and I mean the Gotham is a race where you want to make a case for, like anybody here. I'm not going to sit here and argue against you, and I don't think you would, and I don't think anybody sane would.
No, you're not. There's not a hill to die. Is not a hill to die on.
And the other thing is, I don't envy David making this line, because, I mean, I think that Slip Mahoney could be favored. I think Cardinal Road could be favored in this race.
I think he made I picked the horse. I think he made the right horse to favor.
Yeah, I don't think he will be favored, but he could be. Here's what the opinion that I'm gonna have.
Okay.
This horse wins, I'm gonna lose. That's a fact. Obviously, you disagree. We'll take a look. No, that's not the reason. We'll look at Iron Clover. To me, he's the one you don't want. He's been winning at 6 furlongs. He's been beating up on weak horses. And he's now got to stretch out to a mile in a field laden with speed, and you're asking him to rate maybe at a mile, to be engaged in a quick pace and hold off the closers, and you're doing it at one of the choices. Whether he's the favorite or he's the second or third choice, he's not going to be 12 to 1. And I got to take a price in this race, Anth.
I know you looked at me yesterday when we were recording the Blood Horse Stakes preview like I was insane.
Don't remind me of having
you do it all the
nonsense.
time.
Don't
I think he's the speed of the speed.
Well, he's not, but okay. This is a very hard race to tell me there's a speed of a speed. Is it possibly going to be in front? Everything's possible. It is very hard to see Mr. Swagger not going. It's very hard to see Recruiter not going on the outside. Speed of the speed. How much could he possibly be in front by in this race? It's a 14-horse field late with speed.
I know what you're saying.
And I'm right.
But at some point, you have to commit. And I don't know.
There's a lot of guys who can commit. That doesn't mean anything.
I understand, but at some point, somebody has to be the one to commit to it.
Yeah, no, because it's a race full of speeds and a 14-horse field.
Okay.
Seven of them can go to the front.
We have a few minutes. You mentioned three, and I think you
the
identified
three main
right. I think
speeds.
you identified the right three. I think of the three, Mr. Swagger is probably the least likely. So I think the two outside horses,
I don't know how you
which by the way, I don't
but
get the
okay.
blinkers on off of the win. They used to not be allowed, by the way. The two outside horses are probably the two likely.
We're going to have to move along because you think we have time, but we don't.
But I think Flo is going to be
You think he's speed of the speed? I think that's a crazy notion.
Okay.
And to like a favorite in this field, hoping he's the speed of the speed, to me is a flaw. But that's fine. We'll take a look at, I think, Lugan Knight, right? Is Lugan Knight next, guys? Yes. I don't know what to say about Lugan Knight. All I'm going to say about Lugan Knight is he's obviously good. I love that Michael McCarthy did the right thing with him. He didn't run the withers. He's giving him the races he thinks is right suit. But he's going to have a tough time being the speed and controlling on a track that's kind of speed in this field. And
nearly impossible to make him
on the other
speed
hand,
in here.
If you're Michael McCarthy, not a bad time to find out if he can rate a little bit.
And it's going to be a forced rate, you would imagine, because we just mentioned at least three horses that appear to be faster than him. And he's rated in the past. He's won rating in the past. And you'd have to imagine, this is the right time. The point system that we have here in New York works to his benefit. He's going to get 50 points.
He doesn't need points. He's not going to the Derby.
Well,
he's not going to the Derby, so he's not 50 points. It doesn't matter to him. The points don't matter to him. This is the worst that I'm thinking.
Then he really did the right thing by not
He's
trying
hoping
to
he's
go
a
on
Woody
9 furlongs.
Stevens or Alan Jerkins' horse, and there's nothing wrong with those races. They're tremendous races and valuable races.
They're grade ones, and they're worth a lot of money.
If Brad Cox wins this race, I think it'll be Slip Mahoney.
Okay.
Who you have third and I have second. My problem with him is, and why I couldn't pick him on top, is I'm not picking a horse of a bias-aided win because he rode the Gold Rail. And he beat a horse, Krupe, who rode the Gold Rail too, in a fabulous ride in a losing effort, angling out. He had the worst of it in the stretch, but he rode the rail before that, who came back and I thought really ran kind of a stinker in the Risen Star because his Risen Star set up well for him. He didn't have to win it, but he should have run a little more than that. And he's also been a bit of a phone.
I know he's been
but this is the best race he's ever run.
I know he's a maiden running against winners down in the Risen Star, but yes, he got a good setup and he just.
But this is the best race he ever ran. And on the other hand, the positive for him is he lost to Tapit Trice, who I don't think is, might be one of the top 15 or 20 Derby horses right now. I think people get a little overexcited by him because he ran so much faster than that awful Holy Bull that day. But he did run to the wire with Tapit Trice, and I think he ran every bit as well as Tapit Trice that day.
And the one thing about Slip Mahoney is he's a little battle tested. His last two starts, he's got himself into a couple of good
I think he's very, very dangerous in here.
That's important. To me, that's important when you're getting yourself into a 14-horse field where at some point, if you're involved, you're going to get involved in one of those stretch duels.
We both left this horse, Carmel Road, out of our picks. I put him fifth. I could definitely see him winning. Practical Move is that funny horse that Sal Cumin and Chad Brown bred, where Sal owned the dam, Act Naughty, and Chad, I guess, had his season to Practical Joke. And that horse is running. They sold it. They didn't want to keep it, didn't think it was appropriate, so they sold it. That horse is running in the San Felipe today. They say this horse is working very well. I've heard that.
At Santa Anita, yeah. This is one of the Bob Baffert transfers to Team Yakteen.
This horse is very dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't have any reason.
He's another one, we didn't mention him as part of the pace.
I don't see Eric.
I don't either.
He's quick. He's not quite as quick, and I also don't think you're putting Eric on him.
I wonder if that's the reason if that's the reason they reached out for Eric. I wonder if they realize that it's going to be a big field, and maybe you want to find out if this horse.
Don't make no mistake. This horse is quick.
He's very quick.
There's a lot of very quick horses, and that's the point I was making earlier. Let's take a look at Recruiter. I'm going to tell you something. Looking up the horses Recruiter ran against, This horse ran against some real horses, ran some big time from U.S. figures.
And they do nothing but win.
The horse that ran second to him came back, has run some good races. There's horses in there that have run big figs that have come back and done well in there in his previous races. He's run strong figures. He gets a good outside post.
An Army Mule that's run at 5, 5.5, 6, 7 at Monmouth Laurel Parks over fast, sloppy, good, 2 sealed tracks. He's had 4 different riders.
You're talking about a horse who's been at a little battle tested, which will be my horse as well. I don't even think I brought a replay of my horse. I should probably talk about him for 1 second before we get to him.
His maiden win was fantastic at Keeneland.
Raise
Your
Cane?
horse, yeah.
I don't say this often. I think Raise Cane's a horse that benefits from a little more distance. I was watching that 6 furlong race, his next race off the maiden win, and his maiden win was good. That field is super live going forward. Nothing but horses run out of that race and run much better figures. And he was really running at the end. Like the 6 furlongs was just too short for him. I know Jace's Road came back and bombed in the slop at Oaklawn. I don't think he's been working. But I don't think his last that race was that bad. I thought he got a good time for him, U.S. figure. They ran him in synthetic. He doesn't belong in synthetic. I thought he was an interesting horse here that doesn't need to be involved in the pace. I think they're going to be moving. He's 30 to 1 in the line. I looked at this race and said, I can make enough of a case for Raise Cane, who is the longest shot, tied with the 1 on the board, and I certainly like him more than the 1, that I can pick him. Do I love him? Of course I don't love him. But I think he's a reasonable play at what's going to be a very big price. Let's talk about Mr. Swagger. I mean, I want to go through these horses. Mr. Swagger.
There was
ran a big figure.
There was a push coming up on this horse coming up from Parks in his debut.
Beat a horse that came back and ran a 93 buyer on a gold rail, but still ran a huge figure, buried the field, including the horse that was put up in the DQ yesterday, who finished way back in that back. Though he didn't run a big figure yesterday. He regressed, actually, off that
Talking
race.
about a horse who had some pedigree to go long. He won going 6.5 first time out. He gets a pair of blinkers now.
Bad stats for the trainer off of maiden wins. He's 4 for 42 off maiden wins in the dirt, $1.34 ROI. Second start, 0 for 8. Stretching out off a maiden win, he's 0 for 7.
I'll tell you what, though, when he ships them up here, they come up with a purpose.
Yeah, and
they win.
they did in the maiden race. I don't want him in this race, but hey.
Okay.
Of course, you have uncorrelated because you have to have every Clarvish horse higher than me. What do you like about him?
I thought his maiden win was okay. He got to handle a sloppy track. We knew it was going to rain. He's going to get it now. They've just upgraded it to muddy, actually, as we've been on the program. We'll see how it goes.
I'll tell you what I like about him. He's obviously way too slow to win this race based on his fig. Register was second in that race. That was his debut. But he came back and he ran a close second with a much better figure, Mr. Swagger. Then he ran a 93. The other thing was the rail was bad this day. And until Manny managed to make that big move on him, he was down on the inside. And then Manny did a good job of getting him off the inside. But because he drew the rail and because of the nature of the way the race was run, he was forced to be more aggressive than might be in his best interests. And therefore, being on the rail, maybe running against the flow the way he wants to run, says that I won't be surprised if he's a horse that could have run a figure of 80-ish. Can he improve from there? I don't love him in here. And the problem with uncorrelated is, if it wasn't Chad Brown, this horse could be 25 to 1 in here. And I'll be honest with you, if he was 20 to 1 or so, I might have picked him.
Oh, I think he's going to be a big price.
He's not, because these connections are going to get bet. I'm sorry. They ran, what's his name, off Cloud Computing ran huge in this race, off a maiden win, off short rest. Who was that horse that ended up going the wrong way, that got beaten in the nose by Wayburn? No, he got beaten in the nose. Wayburn was third. He ran second off a maiden win. They've had success. No way Chad Brown and Manny Franco are going to be a huge price in this race. I'm sorry. What about Transact? I didn't even pick this horse. Why can't Transact win? He's a gun runner. He's got dirt pedigree. It's Paolo Lobo. Now, he beat terrible horses down there, relatively speaking, but are you going to be shocked when Transact runs well? Gun runner coming to a dirt?
He scratched out of the, he may have scratched out of the Risen Star to wait for this.
Come here. David Aragona picked him. That's good enough for me. I mean, honestly, I'll tell you another horse here that could get third or fourth if you're playing supers. General Banker. Because they're moving up front and this race gets hungry late. One thing about General Banker, he'll come clunking along. He's never going to do anything in the race that's going to hurt him to winning. You know what I mean? He'll just be clunking along, and you can't knock him. He runs fine.
Yeah.
I mean, this race could
fall apart.
This race could fall apart at the 8th pole. And there will be General Banker come clunking along for third or fourth at 40 to 1 in here. It's a fun race. I mean, this is about as fun a race to look at. I can't wait for it's always one of our favorite races. I think it's a fun race. You think it's a fun race? The haircut's good. You were getting that little thing you had. Looked like it was going to jump off and attack me during the show.
Thinking of you and Ruben
Starting
was
to get
shaving it
nervous.
off.
Okay, I did pick the horse third in the 10th, but I'll tell you who I don't like as we go to race number 10. I don't like Bourbon Ready. We'll take a look at him breaking his maiden by 10 at Gulfstream. Todd's kept this horse down at Gulfstream for a long, long time. If Todd thought this horse was good enough, he'd have shipped this horse to New York. He's coming here trying to win. Is he impossible? Of course he's not impossible. Yeah, Dale Roman's looking thin over there. Lost a lot of weight. Good for Dale.
Yeah.
I don't want any part of this horse. I picked him third. I probably
snuck
should have
him in
lower.
this optional claim to get him eligible for the starter race, and it worked. Nobody
It was
bit.
a moccasin. Don't you? So when you look at the maiden optional claimers, I always think they're moccasin races.
Yeah.
I think of moccasins. I don't know why.
Because it says mocked.
I know.
He mocked them all right.
You know what?
You got 620.
I know you picked the lat at the bottom because you're picking every Amir Shishakli
go.
horse. No, this horse can win.
Yeah, this was supposed to have a good trip off the, right,
I like the cutback
right
for
behind
this
the
horse.
speed, the cutback, yeah.
No, I agree. This horse is not impossible.
I picked
picked him
you
fourth.
know what? I thought 3 or 4 horses could win the race. I picked the horse that was the biggest price. That's going to be just off the pace.
Well, you're wrong because the horse that's going to win this race is Victor. By the way, I think Kalaloo's the horse to beat. I actually think he's the actual horse to beat. He was against the track last time out. The winner scooted up the rail. He's good, and it's not the distance a problem for him. He had a huge trip in his first race. He's just improved since then. I think Kalaloo is. I literally think Kalaloo should be favored in this race. I think he's the horse to beat, but I like Victorious Wave. Take a look at his last race at Tampa. This is one, if you're a formulator person, you like this horse because you look up the horses that Victorious Wave ran against in here. It's a shockingly good field. Horses are shockingly good out of this race. And he was in the teeth of the pace the whole way, and he's a private purchase to bring him up to Rob Atchesford with a purpose. I like Victorious Wave today. Do not get live in the pick 5 and not use this horse.
Yeah, I tried to put a pick 5 ticket up for Naira Betts.
You thought we had a lot of time. You see? You thought we had a lot of time.
Buddy, I didn't know we were going to talk for 3 days about the Gotham. There was a lot to talk about, though.
You want to talk about it. I mean,
You make a great point.
I think that it's really a fun race. And I think it's a race that is fun for a lot of people because there are going to be a lot of different opinions. You know, most of them will end up running, not finishing well. But I mean, how often do you get to bet a 14-horse, one-turn mile race? It's been a long time since we've had that.
When you keep saying, I think of defending your life. When Al Brooks keeps saying, I'm doing the best that I can. It's really a fun race.
You ever see Mother with him? You must see Mother with everyone.
Yeah.
How great is it with Rob Morrow as his brother, and he's all jealous of him because he's up there? It's so great.
I'm doing the best that I can.
Yeah, I've lost in America. God. Anyway, head over to Naira Betts if you're not a member. Join. Bonus 200. I'm
Yes.
surprised. I never knew you were an Albert Brooks fan. I didn't know. We never talked about him. That's
No.
good. I know he's the greatest. Great. He's great in This Is 40. See, when he's sitting there with John Lithgow and they're at the table, her father, the whole thing. Anyway, bonus 200. We'll match the $200 initial deposit. Let's roll through these. We've got middle pick 4 in race number 4, 2, 4, and 7 for the pick 4s, 1 and 6 pick 5s, pick 6 in race number 5. Derby bankroll builder, bet 50 to win on anybody in the Gotham, and you'll get $20 back for your Derby Day bonus. And if you win with your winner, you'll make some money as well. Cross country pick 5, 3 stakes here, 4, 8, and 9. 2 stakes at Oakland, race 7 and 9. A lot more time between them, but we wanted to keep them all stakes. Opt in for this one, bet 50 or more on Aqueduct, Oakland, and Santa Anita. A terrific card out Santa Anita. Wish them well. My good friend Steve Bick is there. Earn $15 from that. Get your tickets to the Belmont Stakes. Head over to BelmontStakes.com. It's going to be nice to be back at the Big B after 8 months here. Anthony, a pleasure. I will see you again tomorrow.
Yes.
You guys, you're just getting started, as is Chris Griffin. He's got a big day ahead of him. Is this his biggest first?
It's not his first Gotham.
No, but yeah, you're right. He called it last year, didn't he? All right, Chris, take it away.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market.